Joining us tonight is the Kingdom DEI officer, Baroness Portia Oliviere La Fourniere. And featuring a live performance by Lord Éadaoin Ruadh from the Kingdom of Ethelmark. And me, I'm your announcer, Master Bjorn of the Northern Sea. And here's your host, Master Laertes McBride.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? Hey, we made it through coronation. It was a great time. I hope you had the opportunity either to attend it in person or to watch the live stream that was put on, which was fabulous. They did a really good job showing exactly how long and exciting court can be. Anyway, it was a great event. We're going to talk about that a bit with one of the co-stewards, along with our Kingdom DEI officer in here a little bit. So we're not going to touch too much about that. But talking about upcoming in-person events, an announcement came out today from Baron Nico that the Queen's Champion Ranged event, which was on the schedule for this coming Sunday, has been postponed due to issues with booking the site. Even though we are moving forward and coming out of the COVID times, we're still not back to completely, everyday normal stuff. So they do apologize for the delay, but as soon as it is confirmed with a venue, there will be an announcement put out there. So those that were going out this coming Sunday to try to earn a spot as one of Her Majesty's champions, please stay tuned. And speaking of which, the Queen's Champion Marshal event is still on the books for July 24th in the Barony of Gildenholt. So plenty of things still coming up. And please just keep checking out the Kingdom Facebook group and Facebook page for updates. Speaking of updates, let's go ahead and bring in Bjorn, because I am still, again, the king of transitions. So welcome, Bjorn. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am unfortunately I wasn't able to go to coronation. I was a little further north, but I didn't catch coronation, but I did catch the heat. So that was suffering for one's kingdom.
Oh, it's nice that you could bear it with us. I mean, and actually at the coronation site, the air conditioner kept up this year, and there was an announcement all the time not to stand over the floor vents, so it didn't smell like cool, sweaty SCA people. It just was like cool air. It was fantastic. So I appreciate that extra step, because I remember that site last time it was, and there was a certain funkiness about it. So speaking of funky coronations, we had the opportunity to do our in the field correspondent, Countess Batista. She has a couple of reports that she wants to share with us from coronation. So let's go ahead and bring her in, and let's see what she has to say.
Thank you, Laertes. This is Batista. I am here reporting live from Caid. Now, I am in winter mist for the first coronation since we've been back from the pandemic. Now, I don't know why they call it winter mist. It is definitely not winter here and not very misty. So we are actually at the Church of the Air Conditioning, which is the church that they worship air conditioning at here in winter mist. So we're going to go talk to some people. I want to see if I can find the new king and queen. I hear that they are spectacular, very rare to get to talk to them. So I'm going to look around and see if I can't find them somewhere. So be right back. Oh, here's someone right here. Excuse me. Are you the new king stepping up?
No, not me.
You're not, because I was told that it was a young guy with kind of bushy hair, and so you're sure that you were not him?
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, you can go inside if you're him. You don't have to stand out here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, apparently this is not the new king, so I'm going to see if I can find him. I think I have actually found the stepping up king and queen, his consort, lovely. I heard she was British, so I understand the facial hair. Anyways, so how does it feel to be the new king and queen stepping up here in Caid?
Well, I looked far and wide for such a consort as him.
And do you know his name? Because I feel like you just did not even know his name just then.
Oh, no, his name's Snorri. He's my squire also.
Snorri is another reason to be British, I think. I hear that the British are pretty boring. So, what? Okay, well, so you guys probably need to get back in then, right? If you're
Well, we're well on our way. And cheerio.
I'm back here at the Church of the Air Conditioning, and I think we have found their altar that they worship at. Here is the Otter Pops. So apparently, if you are at the Church of the Air Conditioning, Otter Pops are your communion? They are communion, your sacraments. So that won't offend anyone, I'm sure. You know, I think I see Fiesa coming, and she will be stepping up today for her Pelican. Fiesa, do you mind if we get a few words from you? So what is it like to be stepping up and to see the new... Oh, okay. Well, she's obviously also very busy, so we'll try and interview her later. Hi, how are you doing? So have you seen the new King and Queen yet?
Beautiful. They are beautiful people. They look wonderful up there. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and do you agree?
Yes, they look wonderful today.
Yeah, and you know, I understand that the new Queen is your mother.
That is correct. Yes.
You know, let me just
My
say
mommy.
that if she's your mother, your dad, the king, looks fabulous.
He has aged well. We tickle him.
He has aged.
And it keeps him fresh and vibrant.
And giggly, apparently.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what pickling will do to you. Anybody will tell you that. So anyways, I hear that the previous reign, the previous king and queen, I mean, I don't remember who it was, but anyways, I hear stories that they were just
Terrible.
a terror. They were
Terrible.
horrible people. Like, they would not step down, is what I heard. Like, it was literally like a year and a half, and people were like, what the heck? Why aren't these people stepping down?
I thought that it was like going to be a coup. Like, I was concerned that it was never going to end. Like, that guy was just going to keep on going and going, and thank God.
Yeah,
Thank God.
you know, I think the kingdom is so much better now because now we have an actual Brit on the throne.
There's a little class on the throne now, at last.
Yeah, I think so.
Long
yeah.
last.
Except for, where do you stand on this whole tea versus coffee thing? Because honestly, I'm a coffee drinker.
I'm a tea.
I do both. I go both ways.
Well, being as your mother, you've probably gone a lot of ways for... Wait, that just really came out wrong. So anyways, well, thank you so much for joining us on Live from Caid. We're still trying to get in to see the new king and queen, so maybe if you have a little sway, you can get us in.
See what we can do.
We're almost there. I feel that any minute now we're going to get to talk to the actual king and queen.
Oh, well, we should really pre-screen these is what I'm thinking.
I never knew reporting like that was possible.
I know. I do want to say the opinions expressed about British people are solely Countess Batista's opinions. So
Yes, they are.
not
They
the
do not
opinion of
reflect
this
Live from Caid, the Kingdom of Caid. Anyone with the letters C, A, I, or D in their name, or any auxiliaries or subsidiaries.
So we're going to have another follow-up check-in with her after we speak with Baroness Portia. So before we get there, though, we have your weekly update of arts and sciences. What website do we have today, Bjorn?
Well, I'm very glad you asked. So for those of you that know, obviously, I wasn't at coronation last week because I was actually visiting our gentle cousins to the north. I was in the Kingdom of the West, the Principality of Sinagua, actually, for a little over a week for some family things. So while I missed coronation, as I've said, I did not miss the heat. I definitely got all of that. And while you're up there or down here, there is a very good chance you might happen to run into a gentle who has been educating our folks, whether that be on the battlefield or in the classroom, for close to 40 years. And that's who we're going to be talking about today. So none other than Yaroslav the Persistent, one of our famed and esteemed knights, one of our great captain generals of the army of Caid, a gentle who mundanely taught for 36 years in the public school system. He has a YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, he has a series of videos about history. But he does it in the Yaroslav way, meaning he wears garb appropriate to the eras in question. Now, he started out about 2 years ago, and it was more about showing other teachers in the classroom and also folks at homeschool ways that you can incorporate certain things into your lessons to make things come alive, to make it seem as if the history was right there. We're all in the SCA. Living history is what we do, and Yaroslav does it better than a whole lot of folks. Right now, there are well over 60 videos on the site. And most of these are out of our period. He does talk about Greeks. He talks about the Roman world. He talks about the Dark Ages, the Renaissance. He talks about the Enlightenment and on forward. But what he's been spending a lot of his time on lately is the mission systems within the state of California, which is why it is very possible that our cousins to the north will run into him from time to time, because he's been doing a lot of things about the various missions along the coast. And some of the things he talks about are in fact still within our period, because they are still within the 16th century. But this is I hate to use the term, but it is a gold mine of information about the history of the mission systems within the state of California. And although, like I said, a lot of that is post-period, this is just the beginning. Yaroslav has almost 40 years of attire and weaponry, clothing, implements, things that he can utilize to help show people about various aspects of history within our time. Like I said, he's working on the mission systems right now. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, out of the mission videos, 58 is the one that he is working on right now. 56 and 57 are ready to be uploaded. So he has a whole host of things about San Marcos, the Presidio at Rio de Sena. It's amazing, all of the places that he goes to. And he tells you who he is, he tells you what he's doing, and then he goes through various aspects of the history in the locations that they happened. I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing what he does next. I am watching the ones on the missions. I didn't go to school in California, so the mission systems wasn't something that was part of the curriculum in the schools that I went to. So I'm learning about these things pretty much for the first time. Although when I spoke with my daughter, who was brought up in the school systems here, she was like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool," but I didn't know that. So that was pretty neat. That there's things he's giving, there's in-depth information he's giving to people, and this channel needs to grow, in my opinion, because it's the sort of history that is done the way we'd like to see it. It's up close, it's personal, it's almost like enchanted ground, if you will. And I'm really, really happy that that Yaroslav's website is getting more and more views. It's getting more and more people that are subscribing. Please, by all means, subscribe, like, share, show it to other teachers, show it to folks who homeschool, or if you're just interested in history yourself, please watch it. But I'm riveted. I enjoy looking at the videos myself. And also, it's Baroness Yaroslav. How can you not want to persist with he who is persistent? So that's the video for this week.
Right. And being a teacher, it really puts him in a unique missionary position to cover this topic. So.
Yaroslav, I did not say that. That's that's that guy right there. Just saying.
So, oh my gosh, what?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
I don't know. Anyway, so who do we have as our first? What a great transition. So who do we have for our first guest?
Hell of a transition. So we have first as our guest, our informative guest. We have our Kingdom Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Officer, Baroness Portia Oliviere de Fourniere. And so we're very happy to have her with us to go over some of the things that have been happening lately for us this week.
Great. Well, let's bring her on. She's going to be here right about now. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
So good to see you. We were talking right before the show, and it's almost exactly a year since we had you on last.
I know. And it has been a year.
Really is. Something been going on. But first, before we get into an update on the DEI office and the changes and advancements and stuff that's been going on there, you were also a co-steward on the event That just
Yes.
happened this past weekend, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Coronation was on Saturday, in case you didn't know.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh, well, obviously Batista knew. But I imagine it was a unique challenge to do our first indoor event with the ever-changing guidance that we got, not only from a society, but from a state, local, even the venue, right? So when did you start planning with your partner? Well, first off, who did you steward? Who did you steward with? I'll put it that way.
My co-steward was Panchali, and she's got to forgive me. There's no way I can pronounce her medieval last name. My goodness. But she was amazing. I want to give her a little shout out. She was awesome. And as to answer, when did we start planning? That's a laughable question. Winter Mist was not the group that actually originally took Coronation.
Right.
So the way it worked out was about 2 months in advance. There was a meeting where groups were dropping like flies because of the COVID rules. And I very loosely said, well, I'll take it if no one else wants to do it. What was I thinking? Right. And so that's kind of how much time we had. I think we had 2.5, 3 months maybe. And it wasn't confirmed at that point. It was still kind of like, just start thinking about what you want to do just in case. So.
Right. And y'all are up in Kern County, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I know part of the challenge is LA County has its own, and Orange County and San Diego County. I don't know. And Kern County all have different. Yeah. They all have different guidelines. So I would think that maybe, by Kern County being a little bit more open than some others, that it allowed that flexibility for y'all to step in and really make this happen, right?
I'd like to say yes. I mean, flexibility is a real strong word, because we weren't just going by what Kern County was allowing us to go by. We were waiting for the decision the BOD had to make. And it was at one point said that whatever the most stringent rules in the state were, that's the rules we had to go by. Oh, and then they added Hawaii and Nevada, and all of our kind of outlying areas became circumstantial, or like part of the circumstance as to what we had to do. So, we were lucky when Kern County was opening up, but then we were like, oh, just wait, LA's not open yet.
Right. Well, I can say, as having been there, that it was a fabulous job by everyone involved. I know as the co-stewards, y'all get a lot of the weight of responsibility to make sure it all happens, but there is a staff underneath that really helps all carry the load. So I would think from the air conditioning to the live streaming that you all have helped set up to allow people to come in, dealing with the limitation from the side of the number of people and having water and extra sites. I think given the craziness, it couldn't have gone any better. So
thank you. Yeah, thanks to the huge team that worked on Coronation, because it was not just myself and Pan. Of course, my household was there because it was our mom who was stepping up, but there were so many hands in the cookie jar because we all knew that it was going to be a crunch time event. But wow, like we did it. Whoa, it was such a wonderful way to say we're back. That was really good. So
right now, I know that pre-registration, but not paying, but just pre-registration was one of the things for this event. Were there challenges or something that could be passed along to the events that are coming up that are going to be using it too, that y'all learned?
I think that, we were given the opportunity when the BOD said we no longer had to pre-register to drop that. We went ahead and maintained it for the sake of contact tracing, obviously. It made it so much easier because people had already signed up. And to be able to say we know how many people are coming because this event site has a cap worked for us. Now, we know that there are different events that are outdoors where that may not be the thing, but my advice is I would say keep it. If you have indoor events, roll with it. It made our gate go fast, and people who can really hammer down their schedule were able to tell us, I'm going to be there with this many people. I thought it was lovely, but I love to plan. So,
Well, I can tell you, it was one of my fastest trips through gates, other than like Great West, where they have everything lined up as pre-reg too. It was one of the fastest through gates. I was like, oh my gosh, because usually you're there like, yeah, okay, yeah,
yeah, we just loved it. I wouldn't. I have to say, I wouldn't change it. Like, I'm super excited that that's going to be implemented at more events. So let's do it. Stay on it.
All right. So, well done for what it's worth. So thank you so much. It was good to be there, see friends, see things working well on a schedule, and it was fantastic. So
it was good
so
to come back. Like, thank you, Caid. That's what I have to say.
And people were very respectful about not assuming you wanted to hug or shake hands.
I did notice that. I caught myself and a lot of people asking, is it okay if I come into your space? Which, not only for COVID, but for DEI reasons. Whoa, it's so amazing. Like, people are learning, and so that's good.
See, this was a better transition. So, but it was great to see that people didn't automatically assume. It led to some awkward moments where you're like,
Yeah.
But I'm awkward socially anyway.
Me too.
But speaking of DEI, from when you were announced and established the office last year, because it wasn't around prior to that, do you want to just give us kind of a brief overview of what's been going on in the past year and guidance and such? Because we had talked about you were going to be building up paperwork and reference materials and working with the geopolitical areas to try to build up their officers and such. So you want to touch on that for a bit?
So we are we're at the breaking point, and it's really wonderful because we've now kind of reached the zone where we can start giving the baronies something to really chew on. They've been asking, they want to take on these positions. Obviously the kingdom is we're not making DEI officers yet on the baronial level, but in the next, I'm going to venture to be nice and say month or two, we'll have some guidelines on paper that can start going down to these local groups so that they have something to follow. So it doesn't fall on just one email. I'll have an army of officers who can help me out, if you will. Classes have been going off like crazy. The society level DEI officer teaches those religiously, and so do some of the other groups as well. And I don't know if many of our members individually belong to the DEI group, but anyone can join that and learn about inclusivity and language and just all of it. And the more that we teach people, the more that this spreads. And now here we are in the 11th hour. The clock's about to strike, and we will finally have this office really, really laid out and ready to go.
So in the past year, what would you say is the biggest misperception about the DEI office and what it does?
I think the biggest one is that I am a police officer of sorts, that I'm out to get you, that I'm hunting down the naysayers and the people who, might want to be a little more, free speech and open, which you are entitled to do. But I assure you, I am not hunting you down. I'm not reading every single thing you post. My job really is to educate, not to intimidate. So.
And see, on the rapier field, I'm the opposite. So that's
yeah. Well, if you ask my husband and my kids, it's definitely different. But
so, have you been getting some good feedback from the populace about the office and the materials that are available so far and the way it's going?
Yes. I mean, the good far outweighs the bad, but there will always be, a couple of naysayers here and there. So.
Right. I mean, I would think, and being a kingdom officer, that you welcome all the input, but it should always be constructive, right? Because just dropping a line saying you suck really doesn't help. Yeah. But expressing opinion, expressing concerns in a way that can be addressed, I would think that everyone would be open to.
I value what every single person who comes to me has to say, period. It doesn't matter if you are literally going to come to tell me that you don't think this office should exist. That's fair. That's an opinion. I want to know why you think that it shouldn't exist. But constructive criticism and careful observation are totally separate from just hate mail, you know?
Right.
Or just being immature. I mean, that's something too that I think that it's out there and we deal with it. I'm sure every kingdom officer does, but it's something that I'm adapting to having more of than I'm used to.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, the good far outweighs the negative. So
Well, that's good. Well, this is the point in the review where I kind of step away and let Bjorn ask his question. So I'll be back after this.
okay.
Lady, DEI, sort of, coordinator. As I think, as opposed to like supervisor, it's more like you folks work in Congress. You work together to create solutions. But we've had Baroness Zara on several occasions, and she echoed a lot of the same things you said, that conversation and dialogue is wonderful, but rather than just saying I'm intractable, I'm not going to move on this, and then really there's no conversation to be had.
Right.
Have you experienced any intractability or any just absolute reactionary line in the sand kind of folks?
Unfortunately, I have. They have all been via social media, so that's something that makes me feel a little less like I don't lose sleep over it. I don't want to seem insensitive, but I don't lose sleep over it because it's so impersonal. Like they're just kind of spitting their venom and then moving on. Like the one person who came to me in person to tell me what they fully thought about the office, I took it home, and I felt it, and I did cry over it a little bit, but I understood that a lot of that comes from how people are raised and what's comfortable and what's easy, and change is hard for some people, and I've learned that either they will adapt and move forward, or they will stay in their own little bubble, but we will all adapt and move on without them. So
thank you. I have seen I lived in the South for a considerable number of years, and some of the most progressive people that I met, or that I would not have normally expected to meet in the South, were actually people in the SCA. It seemed to me as if a good number of folks were really adhering to the Middle Ages as they ought to have been.
yeah,
Which was a statement I heard when I first started playing back in the early 80s. These are the Middle Ages as they ought to have been. And I think we can work with DEI to make the modern Middle Ages as they ought to be.
Yeah.
And if you had something that ought to be, if there was an ought to be that you wanted to give to Caid, or the rest of the known world, what is one of the ought to be's that you really want to help put on the table and let folks see?
I might have a list, but I think one of the biggest ones to me is that anachronism transcends garb. And I think a lot of us look at it as it sticks to that. Know that it really means you can be anachronistic, blah, 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 mind my words. You can apply that to your speech, to your garb, to just about everything you do in the SCA. And we have to know that if we can learn to interact with people who are able-bodied or trans or people of color, that is an ought to be. Because if we lived it the actual way, none of that would be happening. So that's my biggest one. The ought to be is one word, and it's inclusive, and we should be able to work with that so simply.
Well, I certainly agree with you on that regard.
In theory.
And well, I mean, there are so many emphases placed in history on people who did not necessarily follow the doctrine of the times, being the doctrine of the Roman Rite, or the doctrine of Rome as opposed to the Rite itself, or the lands of Greece, which are basically every place that wasn't Persia, according to the Persians. So if they had understanding and acknowledgement of different modes to think about things, I pretty much think that those of us in the modern world can kind of go, okay, maybe I can take a step back and look through a prism rather than a magnifying glass, and see how it diffuses rather than how it just focuses, almost like you're burning creatures on the sidewalk. It's not about a white hot heat. It's about a beautiful spread of light that can envelop us all. I think. I didn't mean to go off on a soapbox.
No, you're right. Progressives have always existed, literally always existed, from the time that Jesus walked the earth to now. People, there's always been someone out there who thinks just a little bit broader than the next person. And if we can really come together and realize that, maybe 1,000 years ago there was one progressive person, and if we multiply that exponentially every single year that we're alive, imagine that when we hit that breaking point where everyone is progressive and everyone has this broad spectrum view of what can be, and that their neighbor is a good person or a fine person. If we can all reach that, I mean, it would be obviously peak perfection, but it's my job to kind of help open those eyes and provide those prisms and those kaleidoscopes so that we can see that big, beautiful spectrum.
Well, I'm with you, and I certainly wish you all of the best with that. And I very much appreciate you taking the time again to talk with us and just let us know how things are progressing in progression. I just wanted to say thank you, and it's always good to see you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person, since that's something that we can do now.
Yay! You're so welcome. And I do want to say that from my perspective, because I can only speak on Caid's or in the view of Caid, everyone's doing such a wonderful job. People are so inclusive and so welcoming and so warm. Like I said, the negative things are so few. They are fully trampled by the positive. And I'm just so proud of the kingdom that I live in. Just so proud. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I really
You're so
appreciate
welcome.
it. Of course.
Uh-oh, you got me back. So, so now comes part of the show, which we play a trivia game, which is somehow connected to what we've been discussing this evening. And now this is, I will admit this one's a stretch, but okay, so Bjorn, what is the name of the game for this week?
Her Excellency's game this evening is It's the Logical Thing to Do.
Right? So the concepts of SCA, SCA and Star Trek kind of commingle a lot, right? So not only in the history of both the SCA and Star Trek, but in some of the concepts. So you're the DEI officer. So what we're going to talk about is some questions related to Star Trek and SCA. So so I can have the connection between the two. So DEI stands for, right?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right. Now in Star Trek, they have something called IDIC, IDIC. Do you know what IDIC stands for?
I don't, even with an I, no.
Okay, well, it is infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Oh.
So basically, it's celebrating the vast array of variables in the universe, both in a personal level and as things coexist. So I figured there was a little crossover in that. So I have a few more questions, some are true or false, some are not, about Star Trek and the SCA. Okay, so I've set it up enough, trying to convince everyone this makes sense. We'll start with the easiest one for people that ever watching, is back when it looked like BBC was not going to renew Star Trek for a third season, this is the original series, which two Caidans started a letter writing campaign that ended up saving the show?
I know one of them is Joe Trimble. And I'm so sorry, I don't know the other's name.
That would be John. So yes, John and
John,
Bijou.
okay, yeah.
I mean, Master John and Mistress Flavia. So Usually when it comes up to someone that had a huge impact on the SCA or Star Trek, the answer is John and Flavia. So we'll give you half credit for that. Okay, so keep going. Okay. True or false? Dr. McCoy was once killed by a knight in armor riding on horseback.
True.
That is true.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
It's the episode Shore Leave. And yes, that was his fantasy, is to be run through by a lance. Whose is it? Let's see. There are two characters, one from the original series and one from Next Generation, that have a fencing background. Which two characters?
The guy from Reading Rainbow.
Guy from Reading Rainbow.
Isn't it the same actor?
Well, that would be LeVar Burton, I believe, is who you're talking about. And no, he has a weird fetish. He has a weird fetish for holograph women. I mean,
I really thought that's who it was.
But no. So, any other guess?
I'm not totally at all reading the chat, but George Takei.
Oh, yeah, Sulu. Yeah, and almost if you read Brianna's message, you would get it the other one too. Yes, so Sulu and Picard. That is correct. Well, you pulled that one out. That was amazing. You are an expert on this trivia. Okay, so last one, a little bit more deeper dive. True or false? So don't even look at the chat. You got a 50-50 chance. I want this all you.
Okay.
The second season story editor on Star Trek, the original series, was also the minister of the list in the Kingdom of Caid. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
Oh, you should have looked at the chat. No, it is true. DC Fontana actually was the minister of list for a while here in the Kingdom of Caid. She was the story editor for the second season of Star Trek. She also wrote some episodes, not only for original series, but for Next Generation, for some of the games, and some of the fan-based episodes that they did. She also wrote some episodes. So she had not only a huge impact on Star Trek and set an example of women writing back in a television writing room back when that was not the norm.
Yeah.
And
there's some really, really cool people here in Caid.
I know. And if you haven't had the opportunity to just sit with John and Flavia and just talk about not only early times in the SCA, but early Star Trek stuff,
yes,
it's fantastic. So I'm going to bring Bjorn in right quick. Brianna wants to know her SCA name. Okay, so hold on. Her SCA name was the Honorable Lady Miranda Douglas of Chalion? See, I don't say last names, that's what Bjorn's for. But he may correct me later on. Anyway, that was her SCA name. Let's bring Bjorn back. So, did you know any of those, Bjorn? Other than John and Flavia?
Well, I did, because as you have so adroitly mentioned, if you spend any time at all with John and Flavia at an event and the conversation continues, eventually it does go to the similarities and the parallels between early SCA and the original series, and so I knew a few of those. Yeah.
So normally, Your Excellency, we would thank you for your time. But Batista did file one report from Coronation, so I thought we would watch it together and just see. Hopefully, she got an opportunity to speak to their new majesties. So let's kind of see what happens.
Well, Laertes, I'm finally inside, and here's some people from Winter Mist. So I just have one question for you. When exactly is winter coming?
Winter comes for like 3 weeks, and then it goes away. And then it's like 110 for pretty much the whole season.
So winter for you is what, 105?
95. We'll say 95.
We'll be back when it's winter. So I think somebody was just sniffing my hair, which I can't blame them, honestly. It's fabulous. So this interview is brought to you by Pantene. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laertes. And oh my God, live from Caid here. I am finally in. I can actually see the king right there. So I'm just going to turn around. I'm going to interview him real quick. So Anyways, excuse me.
No. Excuse me. We can't have. They are busy right now. It's with kingdom business.
But he's right there.
Kingdom business right now. I'm so sorry. We need to escort you. No, kingdom business.
Your Majesty. This is Batista. I'm filming live from Caid. Well, I tried to get in to see the new King and Queen. It didn't actually work out for me. So anyways, Laertes, I tried. I hear it was a fabulous coronation. I think I'm going to just stand here for a while and cool off. You guys are going to let me go, right? Thank you. This is Batista live from Caid.
So, yeah, looks like she had a great time.
Sorry, the video was frozen for me, but I'm sure she had a fabulous time.
I just want to say that working, as part of the staff for coronation, your security was top notch. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for a fabulous event and your continued work as a Kingdom officer, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.
Okay, Doug. We'll see you later.
Good night.
That was fun. So, and it was a great event.
Like I said, I'm sorry that I missed it, but by all rights, I understand that it actually fulfilled the requirements of an air-conditioned room far more than that site has in the past. So I'm just happy for you guys.
Yeah. But yes, and like I said, asking people not to stand over the floor vents, A+. Anyway, who do we have coming up as our party performer this year?
We have from the Kingdom of Ethelmark, a very well-known young performer, Lord Éadaoin Ruadh, and we're just really, really excited. I know that Lord Éadaoin already has a following here in Caid. There's folks that really enjoy. I have to say that was one of the neatest things about this last year is all of the virtual Bardic circles and things. A lot of folks got to exchange ideas and listen to people they might not otherwise listen to. And so for that very reason, I think that's why we're very pleased that Éadaoin is here today. So we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be here in just a moment. And hello.
Hello.
Looks like you're hiding out in the attic.
I am, yes.
So you're joining us from the kingdom that's most difficult to spell, Ethelmark, right?
Yes.
Because just wanted to have a kingdom with a lot of vowels in it. It seems. Right? Now, for those unfamiliar, where is Ethelmark?
Ethelmark is in the northeast of the United States. It encompasses, I believe, most of New York, Pennsylvania, and parts of West Virginia.
Right. So y'all broke off from the east and took Pinzig with you. So that's basically how I think it worked. So there you go. Might as well. So how long have you been in the SCA?
Oh gosh, I think collectively probably around 5 or 6 years. I started in the mid-realm, but then got a bit overwhelmed with some of my duties and some of things in real life, but then picked it up pretty much full time since I moved out here in about 4 years ago, and then have been with it ever since.
I was going to say, you really have a really strong Midwestern American accent, so I could tell you're from the middle. Yes.
Very specific parts of Illinois.
Yes, exactly. So what got you involved in the SCA?
Actually, well, I've known about the SCA for a long time. I started and still play another game called Dagger here, and a good friend of mine that I got into that brought me to an event called Summer Fair, I believe, down in the barony of Illiton in the Mid-Realm. And that was a combination SCA demo, but also the community got involved. And after that, I was pretty much hooked. So I joined after college when I had a little bit more free time and that's pretty much it.
So, so was it Bardic that brought you in, or combat, or combo, or what really brought you in?
No, I was too much of a coward to get up on the Bardic stage. I started with combat and archery. I was a heavy fighter until I tore my ACL at my authorization, and then and stayed with heavy for a bit. But I mostly do mass melees, and at a distance, I'm a spear fighter. But now I also do rapier. Didn't get into Bardic until actually I had about 3 shots of whiskey in me at a particular Dagger Here event. And I got up on stage and did a song, and everyone loved it. So I got this idea in my head that I could actually do it.
Yeah, I think whiskey has been the fuel for a bunch of Bardic performances. So that's fantastic. And I can tell you, spear fighting and armored combat, yes, it's very satisfying. Just pop them in there. So I understand you're going to perform a piece for us tonight. You want to tell us about it?
I will, yes. So I'm surprisingly in the SEA, don't do too much historical stuff, but this kind of combines a modern mindset and the historical mindset that I hope certain of the lower class had about preserving their land. When you hear a Scottish song in a Bardic circle, you think it's either going to be about drinking or fighting, and this is not that. So I've loved the Scottish landscape, and so I did a bunch of research, and I found there was a large push starting in the 80s by Trees for Life, which is a group that was their sole purpose is to rewild the Scottish landscape, essentially. So they cordoned off a bunch of area from invasive species, but also destructive species like deer, so it could regrow the original native plants, and the ecosystems have seen such a comeback because of their efforts. The difference is night and day. So I wanted to pay homage to all of their efforts, but also the parts of Scotland that everyone forgets when they're talking about fighting and death and drinking. And that's and I love wordplay and putting phrases in songs that are just specific enough that they convey something more than what we hear in everyday language. So I feel my song is heavy with that thing, but it's exactly what I need it to be. So this is called oh goodness, drink for a Scots land. Is that where you want me to start?
Well, I was going to say, now the floor is yours.
All right. History says we're drunkards, loud ones and warriors, and sometimes our men are that way too. But with each battle won and song that is sung stands a lady strong, gorgeous, and true. For howling heights and black soil valleys, for mist and rain that washes you clean, I'll challenge any taker who ignores her beauty and denies all I have seen. For Scotland I drink tonight. Breathe with me the airs, we stand above the world. Such ardent green valleys surrounding. With your breast clean and full, your mind clears and sees sunset's amber haze abounding. Shoulders rise from the earth as boulders and bluffs, highlands cloaked in juniper and heather. So by leaf, moor, and rock we're made of sturdy, valiant stock, and all our hills and ancestors have weathered. For her breathtaking ridges and wind-swept sedges, for endless skies that beckon our gaze, I'll challenge any taker who ignores her beauty and denies her boldest of ways. For Scotland I drink tonight. Let me run with a red deer to the drumming in my heart. Let the boar test my inside and courage. Amid the smell of damp cedar, woodland lullabies, and fog of quiet ancient promise, may your path find the banks of our clear water loch, stretched for miles between guardian mountains. In their reflection you'll find a mirror of time, of what you are, will be, and have always been. For towering pines and their haunting wonder, for trails that teach with sacred step, I'll challenge any taker who ignores her beauty and denies the chills that I've met. For Scotland I drink tonight. On her shore you will still feel the sea's lonely pull in salt spray and roaring surf. But those daunting cliffs or rainbow macaire have the call all rovers must answer. There's a chasm in my heart to never be filled, but by autumn rains and crimsons I have known. And should the last thistle die, ever with her I'll lie, for I have failed to protect our home. For Scotsmen, it's pride in the land we live on, where lion rampant flies free above. We give all that's needed to preserve her beauty in stories, good works, lives, and love. For Scotland we drink tonight.
Wow, that was wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you much.
It's like you've been there.
I have been there, actually. I got to visit a friend of mine who was studying there in Perth for 4 days for a weekend. And we literally took one entire day, and all we did was drive in a huge loop around the Highlands. It was phenomenal.
Very nice. Well, that was gorgeous. Thank you for coming on the show and just sharing that. I can see why you have lots of fans out here. People are tuning in to watch. So, if you ever make it out of our way, be sure to let us know. It'd be great to.
That's the hope. I would like to do some more traveling now that pandemic's over.
Yes. And well, you're what, in Buffalo, New York? Is what we were talking about?
Yes. Mighty immigrant city, as I'm sure a lot of California can attest to as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing that with us. It was great to meet you.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. And have a great rest of your evening. Thank you. Well, that was wonderful. Mm-hmm. It's like she sings for the trees. So
lovely piece.
Yes. So Bjorn, I need to talk about this with you because we haven't seen each other. But I was thinking over this summer that we're going to go to an every other week schedule. And that seems to be working for us right now. So.
Well, I mean, it just makes sense. You have a youngster that's matriculating to school in the fall, but you want to get a chance to see her.
Right.
I have a youngster, well, not a young youngster, who's matriculating to university in the fall, and I would like to see her. So that does make sense. Yes.
So we will be going to an every other week schedule. We will have some special content on our off weeks. Not every time, but we will. And so join us in 2 weeks. We'll have, I'm sure, a great Bardic performer and a very interesting interview.
I'm really excited to see what it is that we figure out.
No, I have a couple ideas. There's been a couple irons in the fire. So again, it was fantastic seeing friends and acquaintances at Coronation. I do want to do a couple of very special shout out to the people that came up and thanked Bjorn and I for putting on this show and continuing going forward, the opportunity that they had to connect with friends and to meet new people. So thank you for those kind words. We do appreciate it. And really, we'll just keep doing this as long as people are watching. So, all right, but that's all I got. You got anything, Bjorn?
I just wanted to let you know that I was informed that a couple of folks, they had downloaded one or two of our videos onto their phone, and they took them to their fledgling fighter practices for new folks. So they would go, this is something that happens. And then they showed a video of a bardic performer and of you and I asking questions from I think Bear Killers was one of the ones they downloaded, as makes sense, having the president and a couple others. And it was just really neat that I did not even think of us as a recruitment tool, but okay. I mean, we've both been called tools. That's obvious. But a recruitment tool, never before. That was exciting.
It's usually in one of my peerage meetings. But anyway, all right, well, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right, well, my friend, I will see you in 2 weeks. So you have a great time. And everyone else, we'll see you then. Well, once again, we will be live from Caid. We'll see you then. Have a good night.